Hi everyone, hope you are feeling positive and healthy. Please subscribe with all bell notifications if you haven't already, and please don't hesitate to leave your valuable feedback and advice below. Thank you very much. Let's jump into the stories. My 27 years old male sister, 23 years old female, slept with my ex-wife, 28 years old female, not more than 6 months after the divorce. My wife and I were together from high school as sweethearts. No kids, we were gonna wait until we had our own home. I was her first in everything and we have had no issues. Until 2 years ago my wife came out as bisexual. I was extremely supportive because I am a decent human being. Things went wrong however when she started hinting/asking for a chance to be with a girl. She claimed it would be no strings attached, and she feels empty not knowing what it's like to be with a woman. I said no for a year or so until she started threatening divorce. This woman was my life and obviously she got what she wanted from that ultimatum. Then it got so much worse. She said that she was no longer bisexual, she was just lesbian. She dated me out of societal pressure in high school and she oppressed her true feelings for all these years and it was time for us to split off. Not once in our entire relationship did I ever pressure her into anything sexual or relationship-based. I had to clarify that with her multiple times. I was heartbroken throughout the entire process and I haven't been able to function. Right when I thought it couldn't get any worse after the divorce, my sister posted on her Instagram story, her and my ex-wife cooking breakfast in nightgowns. She said they have been sleeping together for 3 weeks now and were planning to tell me later. The picture was a slip and it is now taken down. It's been a week and I haven't been sober. I plan on moving out of the country the moment Corona ends. But how am I going to function until then? Talk to your family and friends about it, or whoever you feel most comfortable with. And remember to take care of yourself and to not get lost in trying to forget/cope by not being sober. I'm so sorry for you. I can't imagine what the betrayal must feel like. Bruh. My coworkers constantly touch me, 24 years old male, in a way that's inappropriate. I don't want to speak up for fear of being ostracized. What can I do? So, for context, I just started a new job. At the time of this writing, I just passed the 2-month mark and my probationary period ends at 3 months. At my work, which is a professional environment, I just so happen to be the youngest, by large margin, person, as well as the only male on a team of about 16 women who range from ages 28 to 51. Most are married or dating. The problem that I'm having is that they're constantly touching me. I don't mind touching, but the way they do it is inappropriate in my opinion. I'm a physically built guy because I work out a lot. They look for any excuse to touch my biceps or run their hands up and down my upper back. Like if they want me to move out of the way, then they'll come behind me and grab my upper arm or even my waist and move me out of the way instead of just saying excuse me. They also comment on my appearance a lot and say that I'm handsome or that I'm good looking. And when female customers come in, then they'll always joke about how much of a handsome bachelor I am and act sad about being married. They will also be walking towards/past me and pretend to not be looking so that they bump into my chest and then put their hands on my torso where it almost always lingers for a brief second. As much as I try to get out of their way, they always seem to make this mistake. These are just examples that come to my mind. But there's much more and worse that they have done. It has gotten to the point where I don't wear polo shirts or any short sleeve shirts because they almost always say, "Wow, your arms look really nice in that shirt," which really sucks because it's hot as hell and I have some pretty nice polos. At this point I'm just sick of being treated like an object and I want to speak up. But they have all been working for this company for many years, and they're all really good friends, including our boss. They all spend time outside work together and they're all really close. So I'm afraid that by speaking up that something bad will happen to me in retaliation. This is really the only problem I have with working here. Like, I get paid really great and the work is engaging and challenging and is helping me to grow as both a person and a professional. So my question is, what can I do? Do I just call it quits and look for a new job? Or should I speak up? I'm just at a loss of what to do and I need to find a way to move forward. Or am I overreacting? Speak up and talk to your manager or HR. Document who, where, what, dates. If you do not feel comfortable calling HR right away, lightheartedly, yet with serious eyes, ladies, no more touching. I would hate for someone to misconstrue what is happening here. I don't touch you and I expect the same boundaries from you. If that doesn't work, ladies, I cannot tell you how seriously I mean this. You cannot touch me. Not in passing, not in jest, not in any way. This can get us both in serious trouble if HR were to get word. This is the last I will speak of it. Next time, HR, add it to a dear daughter. I'm rethinking this advice which I recommended earlier. If one of the ladies gets upset, She may report to HR first, which would put you in jeopardy. I think you should give HR a heads up and ask them to support your attempt to address it before getting them officially involved. And be sure to check in with HR within a few days. My husband thinks I'm in love with my dead gay best friend. Yes, that title sounds ridiculous, but let me explain. I've been married to my husband, let's call him Steve, for a little over a year now. He's a wonderful man, but he's never been the best with emotions, specifically when other people are upset. A few months ago my best friend, let's call him Sam, died. It's not my place to talk about the circumstances of his death, but it was very sudden and tragic. Sam and I knew each other for 14 years, and we were very close. We met as colleagues and became fast friends, despite our age difference. He's 10 years older than me. We started hanging out outside of work. I met his family. I was eventually integrated into his larger friend group. I even became a pseudo-cousin to his children. Sam was like family to me. I was, and still am, heartbroken about his death. I took a few weeks off to allow myself time to grieve, and to support his husband and children. I'm doing much better now, but some days I still miss him terribly. Steve is concerned about my grief, but not in a "I'm so sorry that you lost your best friend" way, but in a "why are you still upset?" He thinks that the reason I'm upset is because I was in love with him. I told him I'm not, and that's ridiculous because 1. He was married, 2. He was gay, and 3. He was 10 years older. But no, losing my best friend of 14 years can't make me this upset. I must be in love. No matter what I say he won't listen, and now I feel like I have to get over my grief, so I feel even worse. This has started to negatively impact my marriage. When I'm upset he refuses to comfort me, instead continuing to tell me to stop being in love with Sam. He's never been super lovey-dovey, but lately he's been giving me the serious cold shoulder. He doesn't even want to have intimate time anymore. I think he's trying to punish me. He acting like I cheated on him. I really don't know what to do. He won't listen to me at all. I won't apologize for feeling sad about Sam's death, but I want my loving not in a whole husband back. What should I do? Tell him how his actions have been negatively impacting your relationship, that you're not allowed to feel upset around him just because of him assuming that you are in love with him, that you just want him to be there for you because you love him and you're grieving someone who you really cared about as a friend. He's only pushing you away more by giving you the cold shoulder. I had a BF like this a long time ago. He ended up being abusive. I'm not saying your guy will be, but being jealous like that is completely unreasonable and a huge red flag. My 36 years old female ex, 32 years old male, was married and trying to rope me into a lot of drama, and now his therapist is texting me repeatedly. I started dating a guy about 7 months ago. He told me he was in the process of getting divorced, and separated from his wife. Long story short, I found out he never actually got separated, and what he was doing would be considered cheating on his wife. I noticed he never invited me over to his place, we only hung out at my place, and when I inquired he said his apartment was depressing. Typical cheating stuff. I ended things when I found this out. He constantly complained to me that he's clinically depressed, and that he made a horrible mistake not being honest, etc. I know this was stupid, told him if he wanted to be with me he'd have to figure out his situation beforehand. He tells me he told his wife they were done and was going through the process and already filed for divorce, moved out, etc. So I met up with him again, and followed him after we left. He went back to his normal house, where his wife's car was still parked outside. I'm 100% sure at this point that his wife has no idea he is talking to other women or even that he wants a divorce. I'm furious at this point and tell him I know he's lying, and that I'm feeling guilty too at this point and plan to tell his wife if he does not. Because it's not fair to her to have this guy going around trying to get other women. This was about 3 months ago. He's been trying to get back with me ever since, telling me mostly the same stuff mixed with how he's seeking help, therapy to correct himself. I ignore him. I tried blocking, but he seems to have ways to reach out to me even if I block him. For instance, most recently I started getting messages from a therapist who tells me she is his incredibly sad, depressed patient, and the therapist initially asked me if I would participate in therapy sessions with them. I said I am not interested in having a part in this. He's out of my life. The therapist is getting pushy, saying a little effort on my part could make a huge impact on his life. She has said things like you are all he talks about in therapy and that he has so many regrets, etc. I'm really wondering if this person is actually a real therapist. TLDR, I want this guy out of my life, but he keeps finding new ways to reach me, including using a therapist to reach out to me. What should I do? I have told the therapist no several times and she's been very pushy. Also, I posted in another comment that this actually is more likely to 99% be a therapist. I looked her name up, the number on her website, practices FB, and on Google all matched with her number. I then went to my state's license search and threw her, very unusual, name into the search with no specific license criteria. She came back as an LCSW, licensed clinical social worker, with a valid unexpired license. My next course of action is going to be to block her, and keep him blocked, and report her to the state board. I'm not going to warn her or anything. My feelings are that she already breached an ethical agreement and has allowed herself to be manipulated by this man so easily. Update: this man. Yesterday, shortly after this post, I got a mixtape along with a 3-page, front and back, handwritten letter in the mail telling me that the therapist told him I want nothing to do with him and that she told him that if I loved him unconditionally nothing he did would ever change my view of him, among a bunch of other crazy stuff. I never have claimed to unconditionally love him, or anyone else in my life. Certainly not someone who I was a side chick. Yeah, that therapist isn't real. Change your number. Yeah, the therapist is him. I'm 100% certain. A real therapist would probably counsel him to do things the right way and finish his relationship with his wife first. My 34 years old female husband, 35, won't take me seriously when I tell him we need couples counseling. I don't really know how to start, so I guess I'll just throw it all out there. Sorry in advance for how long this is. Just feel kind of lost. My husband, 35, and I, 34 years old female, have been together for 15 years. We just had our first baby, a son, together earlier this year. We have had a strong relationship, but over the last year it's gotten more rocky. After our son was born, things started getting even harder. We weren't getting along and I repeatedly told my husband that I wasn't happy and I was worried about us. I know he really struggled right after our son was born with the adjustment to our life, but he seems like he has come around and I know he loves our son more than anything. A lot of our issues have been there for a long time, but I got to the point where I was over just putting up with them. It got to the point where I was so frustrated that the baby and I went to stay at my family's house for a week to get a break. After repeatedly telling my husband I wasn't happy and I was worried about us, he said he was shocked and didn't understand when I left. We don't communicate well, and when we have disagreements it is hard to get any feelings out as we talk over one another. We both acknowledge the communication issues in our relationship. I wrote him a letter while I was gone as an opportunity for me to get everything out in the open without us trying to talk over the other. My main issues are responsibility. I currently pay all the bills and give him a lump sum to pay me each month. The problem is that month after month, I am having to remind him up until the day that we would be in default for our mortgage payment that he owes me money for the monthly bills. I told him that I get the bills in the mail with a due date and no reminders. It is my responsibility to make sure we are current and pay on time, and that he should have the same responsibility to me. Listening. He repeatedly tells me that he listens to me, but he never actually hears what I say. Paying the bills each month is one example. I have told him every month for probably 2 years that he needs to pay on time. Also, when I left for home, he was shocked that I was unhappy even though I had been telling him for weeks. Feeling wanted. My husband was coming to pick me and the baby up from my family's home, and my parents offered to watch the baby for the night and allow us a night away in a hotel. I told my husband about this and how I was going to look for a hotel and we could get away. He told me that he didn't see the point since we would just be quarantining in a different place and how he couldn't see how that would be romantic. Not going to lie, this one stung a lot. Needs with baby. He wants me to explicitly tell him everything that needs to be done. I want an offer to do things and take initiative. I told him I don't want to have to be his mother and that he would resent me for nagging. He told me that he wouldn't resent me, but he needs to be told what to do. The problem is that I now resent him for having to ask for everything, and when I do ask, he treats me like a nag. Respect. I feel like a lot of these things tie into respect. I feel like I am not respected. I want to be treated with respect in my relationship, and I feel like that's not a lot to ask. This letter was 2 months ago. I have also brought up couples counseling a few times, but he needs to get approved through our insurance. I already am, to go see a therapist/counselor. I mentioned it a couple of times and he told me he would do it, but that he wasn't for it. Fast forward to this weekend. I asked my husband if he called insurance to start the process to get approved. He said no, and so I asked him what his plan was to start the process. He asked if I was still serious, to which I said of course. He said that if I was, then he would be willing to entertain it. He also said that he felt that he had been doing a lot to improve since I wrote the letter, and did I not agree? I said well. And he immediately cut me off and said by me immediately not saying yes that I disagreed. I told him that it was not fair to not give me more than a second to respond. But to be honest, he tried for a minute and then it dropped off. After the letter, he offered to take responsibility of paying the tax bill that we owed for this year and car insurance, with me still paying my portion of both. but just sending in the checks. It took 7 weeks, with multiple reminders from me and a reminder letter from our CPA to pay the tax bill. He also paid it the last day before I told him I was just going to pay it myself. Regarding the car insurance, he tried to backtrack and said that we needed to pay it. I said that what I am hearing with that is that I needed to pay it. Obviously the bill had not been paid, now past due. When he tried to deny that he offered to pay, I told him that if I had always paid all the bills, why would I just expect him to pay this one this time unless he had made the offer? I also reminded him that while he paid me the bills on time for June, it was now July 3rd and I still had not received his portion of the bills due July 1st. He got incredibly defensive and told him I was needling him and asking him questions I already knew the answers to when I asked if the car insurance had been paid or if he had contacted insurance to get approved for counseling. He also told me that he didn't have time to pay the bills because he works. I worked 50+ hours a week before the baby, but was laid off due to the pandemic. I told him I never had an issue paying all our bills while working before. He then proceeded to not talk to me for the rest of the night when we got home and then slept in the guest bedroom that night. On the wanted and physical side of things, we have had intimate time once in the last 3 months. I have tried to give us opportunities, but he decides it's not worth it. Hotel with parents watching the baby, or went drinking with friends instead. I know he's not cheating on me as he is always home, quarantine and whatnot. But dang, I don't feel like I am that bad. I really don't feel like things have improved or that there is an effort on his part to improve anything. I asked him what he needs from me too, but he said that he doesn't have a laundry list for me like I do for him. I feel stuck at this point. I don't know what to do to help us. I know we need counseling, but I don't want to have to nag him to get approved so we can go. I have started therapy for myself as I know there is probably some postpartum issues going on, but most of the issues I have with us have been there for a long time. I'm sorry this has been so long and I know there are a ton of grammatical errors. I don't want to end my marriage, but I don't want to spend my life with someone who doesn't respect me. I don't know exactly what I am looking for, but any advice would be appreciated. Just don't really know where to go from here. Edit. Thank you all for reading this and your replies. I'm sorry I haven't responded to each, but it's also a lot to process. I think this has reinforced what I already knew, but haven't wanted to accept. What you're describing is the emotional and administrative labor for the whole family. He is happy with the status quo, or he doesn't have the bandwidth to take it on. I'm not going to lie, my wife manages a greater proportion of this labor, but I do the bad cop stuff in return, calling the builder to complain, getting refunds on flights, etc. Your husband's total inability to accept that this is an untenable strain on you is pretty much as you describe. He doesn't listen or he is checked out. The fact he's not interested in intimate time and romanticism implies it's the latter. I don't know what you can do apart from serve him papers, tell him it's couples counseling or he signs them. He's just not noticing that you aren't happy, and that he needs to step up. If he's bewildered this time, you have to accept that he's just an incompetent husband, not a malicious one. Almost like a poorly trained teenage boy, oblivious to anyone else. Your entire dilemma is perfectly summed up in this one line. I don't want to end my marriage, but I don't want to spend my life with someone who doesn't respect me. It's one or the other at this point. Your husband is too stuck in his ways, and isn't giving you the 3 things every relationship requires: communication, trust, and respect. The other stuff that's important to you, like being wanted and listening, and even taking care of the baby, will all come if those other 3 parts are there. He doesn't seem to have any respect for you, your words, your desires, or your needs. You left for 2 weeks, and he claimed to not understand. That was a way to pacify you, not a way to genuinely explain his confusion. He's happy to continue on with this life, and I don't think anything you will do can hope to change any of this. If you can be happy with things like they are now, then just find a way to be comfortable, because I guarantee this is how things will always be with him. But if you are not happy, you have to leave. There's no ifs or buts. He doesn't want to change, and you need to be wanted. You deserve happiness, and you deserve someone who's a partner, not someone who won't even try to help you fix what you have. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more stories delivered to you. Thanks for listening. See you later.